First story. AITA for threatening to leave my neglectful wife, who turns out to be cheating. I 35M have been married to my wife 37F for 7 years, and we were together another 3 before that. We had a daughter 5F. On the outside, our marriage appears to be perfect. She and I own a nice house with a good school district, have a great kid, and both work full-time. Her job requires her to do some travel and wants her in the office 3 days a week. My job does not pay as well, but I work completely remotely and spend a lot of time talking to my daughter about soccer or doctor's appointments, as well as keeping up around the house. Before anyone asks, this is not a weight gain issue. I am active and fit, and my wife is the same. For the past 4 or so years, my wife has shown basically no interest in our marriage and acts more like my roommate than my partner. We have basically no romance or intimacy. When I say intimacy, I know some people will jump to sex, but to me, intimacy means acting like a couple. Hand-holding, kisses, cuddling, and obviously sex. None of those are really things my wife wants to do, and it is painfully obvious that she isn't interested. Before, she and I were a very amazing couple. My wife also shows no interest in my life. She has forgotten important events like our anniversary and my birthday. On our last anniversary, she said she needed to cancel the dinner plans I made for the 2 of us, because she had to work late on a Friday and travel for work the following week. I brought this up with my therapist, who suggested couples therapy and is willing to give some recommendations. I brought this up to my wife, who immediately shut it down saying, "There's nothing wrong with me, I don't need therapy." I have made multiple suggestions to her for how we can possibly improve our relationship. Family vacation. Our daughter won't appreciate it. I don't see why a 5-year-old wouldn't want to go to the beach for a couple days, but maybe I'm wrong. A romantic getaway for just her and me. No, I'm too busy at work. Or, can't we just spend time together at home? Taking our daughter on a bike ride and going out to lunch on a weekend. I want to just relax. So I gave up trying to initiate anything with her and recently began looking for an out. I watched my parents in a failing marriage for a decade and don't want to put my child through that. I talked to a lawyer, got my papers ready, and can buy a condo in town to keep our daughter in the same school district as her friends since I can't afford our house by myself. I recently confronted my wife when our daughter was at a playdate. I told her that I am seriously considering leaving her since I feel as though I don't matter to her and our relationship is never a priority to her. I told her I have an exit plan, and if she doesn't make changes by the new year, I am going to file for divorce and full custody. She and I got into a big fight where she basically told me I was manipulative and an arsehole for blindsiding her like that. I told her that none of this would be an issue if she cared about us, or at least pretended to. I told her I didn't want our daughter to see how unhealthy our relationship is. All of this happened yesterday, so Reddit AITA for what I said to my wife and our argument after. Edit. I have brought up my concerns about our marriage to her multiple times. Things usually improve for a short while but are quickly back to the status quo in a week or 2. Comments. Canthon's partners. I'm sorry to say this, but your wife doesn't care. The first thing she said to you once you mentioned ending it. She said, I was manipulative and an arsehole for blindsiding her like that. First off, you didn't blindside her. You mentioned it to her, and she didn't want to listen. Secondly, you also asked about the couple's tumult, and she dismissed you. Every time you try something, she doesn't want to know. She doesn't seem to care about you or your daughter. She doesn't care about your anniversary or your birthday. She does not seem to care at all. You are the one who is there for your daughter, spending quality time with her. Are you sure she's not having an affair? Personally, I wouldn't wait till the end of the year. I will go ASAP. OP. I really hope she's not having an affair. I really don't want to think about the person I want to spend my life with doing something like that. Catanamenly. Partner 1 has been screaming into the void about relationship problems for years. Needs are not being met, etc. Partner 2. I feel so blindsided by this. Pikachu face. Maybe if P2 actually cared or listened, they would not have felt blindsided. They chose to ignore it. Judgment. NTA. Update. 13 days later. Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for all of your replies and messages. I received a ton and haven't been able to reply to them all. It has been a crazy couple of weeks, unfortunately. My marriage is over, and after talking to my wife, I realize it has been for a long time. The day after my post, I began the divorce process with my lawyer. Everyone who said I was an arsehole for saying I was going to get full custody, that is true. I was angry and frustrated and said something I shouldn't have. We are going to split custody, with me having the weekdays and my wife having the weekends. That said, to everyone who said she was cheating, congratulations. You were right. She has been there for around 4 years now. which is about the time she started withdrawing from our marriage. She has been cheating with this coworker because she felt like she was not attractive after having a child, and I was busy with work and childcare. More recently, she has begun to develop feelings for him and was considering leaving me for him, which she is now free to do. When I gave her the ultimatum, she was surprised that I was considering leaving her and thought I knew about her affair at the time. We sat our daughter down and explained that we were splitting up, but we both loved her more than anything. My daughter was understandably upset and is having a tough time. I am looking into therapy options for my daughter and told her that she can always tell me how she is feeling. This is the hardest part of everything so far. My wife and I are going to be geographically close. I'm going to be moving into a condo in early January, and my wife is going to move in with her coworker about 15 minutes away. With the sale of our house, I will be able to pay off a large portion of my new home. According to the lawyer, we can have everything wrapped up by the new year if it goes smoothly, but with the holidays, I'll be happy with early January. In the meantime, I'm going to start rebuilding my life. I did not get married with the intention of getting divorced, but here we are. I am going to work on myself and my relationship with my daughter, starting with a vacation. I am going to surprise her with a trip to Disney this winter. It will be expensive, but I really want to make her happy and create some happy memories. I'm going to miss her on weekends. Maybe one day I'll explain this all to her when she is of an appropriate age, and we can talk about it more. In the meantime, I am going to work on myself and try to be the best version of myself that I can be. I don't know what the future holds, but I guess I'll know eventually. Comments. Deleted. Showing grace in times of adversity is a real challenge. You're going to be okay. Better than I was in my divorce. Just keep this level above yours, processing things the way you have been maturely, and you'll make it through this process better than most. It sounds like you have your kid most of the time, which is good. You're obviously the more mature parent. Feeling unattractive is such an immature reason to cheat. All in all, your ex-wife is the arsehole. OP, thank you. My goal here is to just be done with things as soon as possible. There is no reason to drag it out. I just want to move on. I don't care why she cheated, but she did. With that, she broke all the trust I had for her. Cookie Today 3D 172. Just remember to put yourself first. You don't have to hear her or support her emotionally. You own her absolutely nothing. Let her have her hard time by herself, and if she needs help, tell her to ask her new man for it. You don't have to be her friend or look for therapy for her. She said that she thought you knew about the affair, which is pathetic. Your only obligation is to your kid, and it doesn't sound like she'll have much custody because she seems like an uninterested mother and travels a lot for work. OP. Yeah, she and I have talked about basically making sure shared bills are paid. All other communication is through our lawyers. All of her problems are now her responsibility and not mine. Update. 5 months later. Hi everyone. I figured I would give one final update. My divorce has been finalized, and I feel exhausted and relieved. I am looking forward to starting the next chapter of my life. This was the longest, close to 6 months of my life, and I'm happy it's over. I do feel a little empty, but that will pass eventually. My ex-wife dragged parts of it out more than needed, which was very frustrating. She ended up finding her own place, which she was not happy about. She is also pregnant, but neither of those are my problem. I have primary custody of our daughter. I get most weeknights and most weekends plus travel. She and I are both doing well and adjusting to things a little bit. I'm still working on myself, and I think I have a long way to go. She is talking to a therapist who is helping her work through her emotions, and I tried to make the holidays special for her. I want to thank those of you who recommended support subreddits for infidelity. Reading a lot about similar situations has given me perspective on my situation. If anyone is going through a similar struggle, I understand what you're going through and hope you find the strength to do what you need to do. Comments. Roadkill 4 Snacks. I thought her ex-wife was moving in with her app. Do you know what happened? It might affect your kid's relationship with her mom. OP. He wasn't super interested in raising a kid, from the sounds of it. Dark Matter Black. Wait, he got her pregnant and left her. Elmao. She's reaping what she sowed. So you focus on your little one and your life. OP, well, presumably him. But I don't know and I don't care. Divorce proceedings had just wrapped up when I heard about them. But yeah, focusing on my daughter and myself is the plan. Second story. OP exposed his family to a toxic cancer, causing ailment, while ruining his home. 2 weekends ago, me and my wife decided it was time to replace our falling apart laminate floors. The location of the laminate we were replacing was in the kitchen, dining room, family room, living room, and main hallway. We thought it would be nice to have all the rooms, including the kitchen and dining room, all on one floor. So we ripped up all of the old click laminate. In the hallways and family room, we found original 1970s vinyl underneath. Since we planned on laying the floating floors again, we decided to leave it alone. We proceed to chip up all of the tile in the kitchen, making our way to the dining room. We got the tile up in the kitchen, and were left with an absolute mess of thinset. So I googled the easiest way to get thin. I found a video on YouTube showing how to use a grinder with a shop vac attachment and diamond grinding wheel. I went to town, and it worked a treat, and I was super proud of how well it came out. Here's where my story goes south. 2 days later, my dad came over to check on the progress we had made. I was showing him the kitchen and explaining the process I used to quickly take the thinset off. My father proceeded to look at the floor and ask what the material was on it. I said it was concrete, it appeared to be anyway, and he said no, it's not. He proceeded to grab a utility knife and cut a small square of material off the floor where I had ground down the thinset. It was a paper-like material that was brittle. He said it looked to be the paper backing that came with old vinyl sheet flooring. He looked over at the family room, saw the old sheet flooring, and told me that I needed to get out of the house and get the materials tested. So I packed up the wife and kids and headed to my parents' house for the weekend. Yesterday, the testing company came out and took samples from all over the house. Today we received the results. Both the vinyl in the family room, etc., and the paper that was below the thinset tested positive for asbestos. The paper stuff below the thinset tested positive for 15% white crystalline asbestos. The story gets worse. I tested a spot on Wednesday night and did a little bit more on Thursday night. We live in South Florida. We ran the AC overnight both nights. I then continued to finish the job on Friday. The AC was off all day Friday because I pulverized the asbestos into a fine powder, literally the absolute worst thing you can do. And even though I was running the shop vac, pulling up the material as I went, it didn't have a HEPA filter and just had a regular collection bag. Therefore, the asbestos, with the help of my AC, has contaminated my entire home. I exposed my family to a toxic cancer-causing element and effectively ruined my home because I didn't know what I was doing. Something so innocent as just wanting to lay floors has turned into an absolute nightmare. I consider myself lucky because if it weren't for my father, we would have continued to lay the floor and just cleaned up, never had a second thought about it, and just lived in it. The one thing I don't understand is why there isn't more awareness about this stuff. Seriously, there should be freaking commercials, warnings at Home Depot, pamphlets, or something. Hell, the guy at the freaking flooring store could have said, hey, make sure to check what's underneath your old floors before you begin. I asked the asbestos tester if, based on her experience, it was common for homeowners to do exactly what I did and never know about it. She said that probably about 90% of people who do DIY do not test and do not know that they have contaminated their home. She told me that some contractors are even worse because they do so many homes. They are often working with unskilled laborers who don't know or don't care and just rip it up, contaminate the area, and leave. Anyway, sorry for the wall of text, but I literally feel sick about what happened. We have no access to anything in the home. We will likely have to trash clothes, sheets, and basically any fabrics in the home. We are in a position where we can afford to fix this problem, but honestly, it's clearing us out. Let my mistake be a lesson. Be safe. TLDR. If you are in a home built prior to 1980, please make sure to take proper precautions and get the materials you are working with tested before proceeding to demo anything. Update. Well, it was bad. As bad as I thought it would be. I received 4 quotes for the decontamination and removal of the rest of the asbestos-containing floors, which ranged from $17,000 all the way up to $38,000. All the contractors I spoke with told me essentially the same thing, that all porous materials had to be disposed of, and that my fiberglass AC ductwork also had to go. The contractor we went with ended up costing us $22,000 for the abatement and another $600-800 for the ceiling repairs and refinishing. So here I am, a month and a half into this nightmare, and we just had our clearance testing done. 2 air samples out of 9 failed. The concentration for the worst one was up at 340 SCC and the other at 140 SCC. This was after negative air machines were running 24 hours a day for weeks, and after the cleaning of every hard surface. My abatement contractor told me that in 24 years, he's never failed a clearance air sample test. He also said this was the first time he's ever seen someone grind the material. He's heard of it, just never seen it. But this just goes to show how high the concentration of asbestos was in the air when I originally ground the material. So the second round of cleaning and air filtration is happening right now as I write this. All in all, we lost all of our couches, mattresses, clothing, towels, sheets, and pretty much anything that had fabric on it. The ceilings had to be trenched in order to pull the AC duct work out without contaminating the attic. And my air handler had to be completely disassembled and cleaned. All of this happened because I did not know what I was doing. Had I chipped up some of the tiles and recognized what was under the thinset, I would have never ground it. But I didn't know what I was looking at. Luckily, my father did. I cannot stress this enough. If you are in an old house, and you are going to be performing your own demo work on anything that could even remotely contain asbestos, vinyl floors, mastic, popcorn, joint compound, really old insulation, siding, etc., spend the $20 on a DIY test kit and wait a week for results. I cannot stress enough how much a pain in the arse it is to get rid of asbestos once it's in the air. $50 and a 1-week delay to your project is a hell of a lot cheaper and safer than what I am going through. Also, if it is asbestos, go online and get disposable Tyvek suits and P100 respirators. Be safe. A one-time hit of asbestos isn't the worst, but it sure as SHT isn't good. Be careful with this stuff. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.